Hello everybody, welcome to VMC. I'm Dr. M. Today we're going to tackle something that's always been a little bit of a pet peeve of mine, but I hadn't ever bothered to make a video about it until a colleague of mine reached out and said, hey, I could really use a video on this. And today we are going to cover whether or not you should be adding water to the kibble meals that you feed your pets. Join me, you'll learn something today. Whenever I'm online, I will see people making the recommendation to add water to kibble or to float kibble. There's a bunch of different phrases people will use. And in the clinic, I often have clients tell me that they add water to their pet's kibble as well. I hadn't ever really looked into it. However, I realized I should because this is something that seems to be done pretty commonly. So I thought, let's do some learning. Let's see what research we have out there and let's see if we can figure out whether or not this is something we should all be doing.
They won't be literally parched and dying for water.
Or not. People will tell me that they add water to their pet's kibble for hydration purposes or to make the kibble easier to digest. Those are the most common reasons I hear about. If you've heard other reasons, feel free to comment them down below. While I was digging into this topic, I did find one research study where some beagles were fed kibble that had water added to it versus another set of beagles that did not have water added to their kibble. This is the only study I could find that directly addresses this topic, and it is interesting what they found because some of the things were not things that I would have expected. What they found was that the beagles who had water added to their kibble were more likely to have diarrhea. They also had increases in their stress hormones, i.e. cortisol, as well as some inflammation markers within their body, indicating that this is seeming to cause some stress to their bodies. Additionally, adding water to the kibble increased the amounts of bad gut bacteria in their microflora. So this does seem to have an impact on the gut microbiome. And as we get more and more research on how the microbiome impacts brain health and the rest of the body, having a healthy microbiome is important. And adding water to kibble seems to decrease the health of the animal's microbiome. So in summary, what this research study tells us is that they found zero benefits to adding water to the kibble, but that there were a number of negative downsides to doing so. My dog is really deeply sleeping and dreaming at the moment. I hope that you can't hear it too badly in the video. Sorry about that. There are some other things that we need to consider about the topic of adding water to kibble. They aren't direct research studies, but there are a few other things to know about. One, we do know that larger volume meals increase the risks of bloat and GDV in our dogs. I've done a video before on bloat and GDV. I'll make sure to link it in the description if you are looking for additional information. But large meal sizes is a significant risk factor. When you add water to kibble, you are increasing the size of that meal, which increases the risks for bloat and GDV. Next, and this also relates to bloat and GDV, if the kibble includes citric acid in it, we have research showing that when you add water to the kibble and then the animal eats it, it increases the amount of gas that forms in that animal's stomach significantly. This also leads to a dramatic risk increase for that animal experiencing bloat or GDV. So both of these reasons are around the risks of bloat and GDV, but they are additional risks that we shouldn't be taking with our pets. It's far better for us to do what we can to prevent the risk of bloat and GDV as best as we can. So from this perspective, we should also not be adding water to the kibble that we're feeding to our pets. The next thing that I'll touch on is one of the reasons I hear people use to defend adding water to kibble is they are saying that they want to make sure that their pet is drinking enough. I've never understood this because healthy pets will drink enough. The body is set up that it will stimulate thirst when they need to drink, and then they will go and drink, and they remain hydrated. I don't know where this obsession comes from with making our pets, forcing them to drink more and more and more water. We don't have to do that. They will drink water on their own. I'm going to give a caveat here. The caveat is that you have to properly offer them fresh, clean water. So let's cover what that means. They should have access to a number of different water sources throughout the day. Every single one of those water sources needs to be fully dumped out, cleaned, and refilled at least once per day. It's also important that we are not putting water into plastic containers at all. Over time, the plastic gets small scratches in it, and there is no way to properly clean those. And so those scratches will harbor bacteria or fungus or mold, and those things will impact the water and make your pet not want to drink from it. So we really do need to be using stainless or glass bowls for our pets. Those ones we are able to clean properly, and the water should remain safe for them to drink in those containers. But if you notice that they're getting worn or used, they might need to be replaced. One other reason that I've had people tell me when they are defending why they're adding water to their pet's kibble, they will say things like, well, otherwise my dog eats too fast. I've never understood why adding water fixes that problem. It just increases the volume that the pet is eating, so maybe you feel better because it takes them longer to ingest the bigger volume. If you feel that your pet is eating too quickly, the solution is appropriate food puzzles. The solution is not adding water. Especially since research shows our dogs are contra freeloaders. They would prefer to have a fun challenge for accessing their meals over just getting it from a bowl. You should be using food puzzles for your pets. Make it fun. This will help their meals to last longer. It will slow down how quickly they eat their meal. It will provide them some brain work, which is satiating for them. It can help to manage keeping them a healthier weight. It's wonderful enrichment for them. Just use food puzzles. Don't add water. So to summarize, there are no research-based reasons to add water to kibble, and there are a number of risks associated with doing so. So if you have been adding water to your pet's meals, you should not be doing that. If they are healthy, they will drink the amount that they need to keep themselves hydrated. Provide appropriate water sources. Use food puzzles that your animal finds fun. Don't make them frustrating. That is key. They need to be something that's doable for them to do and fun. And stop adding water to the kibble. Just quit it. I always have to put in caveats. I suppose that's what happens when you've been practicing as a veterinarian for a while. There are going to be some uncommon situations or some temporary reasons why we might recommend adding water to kibble. I know, this whole video has been about why not to do it, and then here I go and say we might have to sometimes. This is because we might find times where the risks associated with adding water to the kibble are outweighed by the perceived benefit and the pet that might need it. For me personally, the most common time that I end up recommending adding water to kibble is after dental procedures. The animal's gums need a chance to heal. Their mouth is probably going to be sore. They do need softened food for a couple of weeks after these procedures in order to give them time to heal. I always recommend using canned food, but there are some people who can't afford to do that. There are also some situations where the animal really dislikes the texture of canned food and just refuses it, but they will eat a softened kibble. I've also had some clients use like a spice blender or something just to break the kibble up into smaller pieces, and then they don't add water, they just use smaller kibble chunks. You know, you can problem solve this. Ideally, use canned food, but I'm not going to say that I never recommend adding water to my patient's kibble at times. There are just some situations where it is appropriate to make that recommendation. But what ends up usually being a temporary recommendation for an individual patient does not mean that we should take that and expand it to all animals all the time. That's not an appropriate application of the information that we have, since the information we have tells us there are risks to adding water to kibble and there aren't any benefits for healthy patients. Thank you so very much for taking your pet's health seriously and joining me on VMC today. I hope this video has answered your questions. If you have a question you'd like me to answer in a future video, don't hesitate to leave it in the comments down below, and remember to like and share this video with anyone else you know who could use the info. I do put out a new video most Fridays and I cannot wait to see you in the next one. You take care. Bye. And stop adding water to the kibble. Just quit it.